Hey guys, welcome back.
It's going to be a fun podcast. We've got some amazing questions, so yeah, let's jump into it, Musley. Yeah.
Well, we say we've got amazing questions. I was just mentioning to Atticus that I used to be really into pro wrestling, like as a viewer, really into pro wrestling. But I haven't watched since it was probably when The Rock, Stone Cold, Triple H, when they were all at the top of their game. So we're talking like mid 2000s.
Yeah,
So
it's a
what
good
I've
time.
done, I loved it. But a load of my mates are still really into pro wrestling, and I asked one of my good friends, who incidentally is called Stevie Ray. He is still really into pro wrestling. He provided a bunch of questions, and he specifically asked me for a shout out. Is still really into pro wrestling. Oh, hang on, I can hear my own voice. No, it was feeding back to me. I don't know why, but it's done. It's sorted. Right, I fixed it. Anyway, my mate Stevie Ray provided some questions, and he asked me to give him a shout out. So there it is. That's his shout out,
That's
Stevie
it.
Ray. He's not the
Nailed
Stevie
it.
Ray, obviously, but he's got a bunch of questions. I've got some questions. Atticus, you've got some questions. My first question is, it's related to the training and stuff, because I am interested in general health and fitness. How hard is the training to be a pro wrestler?
Oh, good start. It's one of those things. It's not for everyone. The amount of guys I've seen. I mean, I've not been doing it long. I've 4 years with a year and a half break because of COVID, basically. But during that time period, the amount of guys I've seen come in, maybe last a few weeks, and just tap out. Maybe there's been a few that have lasted a week.
Yeah.
It's a shock to the system. You're having for one thing, taking a bump in the ring, or to start with, you'll be doing it on mats. To do that initially, it's just like it's so unnatural to throw yourself to the floor of your own free will, and intentionally be landing on your back. But trying to learn how to do that while taking the impact across your body, it's just completely unnatural. And until you do it enough, that it then becomes natural. Because now I think if I fell outside on the street, I'd be bumping it by accident. I went paddleboarding once with the wife and some friends, and every time I fell off my paddle, I was bumping into the water. Everyone was like, "Why are you falling in the water like that?" I'm taking bumps. I'm bumping into the water. What the hell? So, yeah.
So is that like part of breaking your fall, bumping? Is that like
a
technique?
A bump. Yeah, a flat back bump. You're landing on your back. You're spreading it out across your shoulders, so you're landing on like the meatiest part of your back to absorb the shock throughout. So you're not hurting your lower back. Similarly, a front bump, you learn to like land a certain way to spread the impact. It's similar things. I think like even things like jiu-jitsu and stuff, you learn to fall certain ways. It's similar to that. You're learning to fall a certain way.
Yeah.
So that initially can be really strange. The actual up and down physicality of just fitness needed, that's tough. But a lot of people seem to think, "Oh, I'm not fit enough to start wrestling training." Just go, and you'll get it by doing it.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people that start off not fit. I started off, I'd been in the gym for like 10 years by the time I started wrestling training. So I had
You
a bit
look
of
like you've
fitness
been
about
in the
me.
gym
So,
10 years.
yeah. So we're talking 12, 14 years now of training. So, but like that gives you a head start, but you got to do it. There's nothing that compares.
Yeah.
That you could do as much cardio, you could do 5Ks, you could do marathons. It's not preparing you for the same thing. It's very sport specific training.
Yeah. I find,
and even just getting used to the ring,
Yeah.
the ring's a strange beast in itself. And hitting the ropes, the first few times you hit the ropes, you're coming away with bruises, like lines of bruises across your back, and
do you get
a lot of body tempering.
Do you get a lot of people that are super fit, and then when they try wrestling, it's like, because like you said, it's a completely different ball game. Like maybe they're really good at running, but then when they try and do like fight fitness, that they tap out really quickly.
Yeah, I wouldn't say it impacts them in the same way from like like if you've got a good engine, you've got a good engine. That'll help. But there's just a difference between doing it, and you'll know yourself. There's a difference between doing it and then getting hit and being like thrown about, and all of a sudden you're sore and the adrenaline's rushing. You've got to keep going. You've just got to keep going.
Yeah.
Big difference. But some people come in and do well, but there's a big part of it that's in here that you can't credit. Like some people could be fit, strong, they just don't get it up here.
Yeah. And like you said, when you can't be safe, it's like if you're really fit going out for a run, well, if you're ever too out of breath, you just stop. But if you're in the ring, the only thing that can stop you is the ref or the bell.
Yeah, that's
or
it.
Physically being knocked out, I suppose. But
but and even then, sometimes you got to keep going when you're knocked silly.
You have to get back up and go again.
Yeah, I've seen people like I've been like. I've took a kick to the gut and been super winded and literally rolled to the other side of the ring, said to the ref, tell him to give me a minute just to get my breath back. So then the other guy knew to just like show out a little bit and then it's like, cool, let's go again, But shit happens, man. You can take a bad one, you can get clocked. My last match, I took a clothesline to the throat a little bit and it was like, oh, that sucks. It's like 2-3 days of struggling to swallow after that.
Yeah.
But
and then, so in order to get this fit, like I mentioned, you look like you've been in the gym for 10 years because you have. You can't get big without a lot of food. So what's your diet like?
Oh man. Oh, my lockdown diet was great. I had pizza every day for a year. Like, no joke. I had, maybe not a whole pizza, but I'd at least have like half a pizza or a few slices or something. Like, before lockdown, I was 205 pounds. And now I'm about 220. But during lockdown, I wanted to gain some size so I could then cut back. So I got up to like 230, just over 230 pounds. And for that, I was eating 5,000 calories a day.
Really?
And I hooked myself up, like, me and the wife both like lifting, so like she's into powerlifting as well and things like that. So start of lockdown, we're like gym equipment in our little shed outside, barbell, we've got 170 kilos and plates, we've got those switchable dumbbells up to 32.5, like a little pulley system, which is really kind of, it's pretty primitive, but it did the job. So we're like, let's just go all out. Not doing much other than work and sitting about. So just training every day and eating 5,000 calories and
brilliant.
Put on a good amount of size, hopefully. So
sounds like a dream.
It wasn't bad.
That's brilliant. And
kind of tied in with this actually, and I think like a lot of young people would actually be really curious about this as well, which is obviously as well as food, you take like protein and things like that as well. Most people do when they're bulking up, and creatine and things like that, and vitamins. What specific ones is it that you take, or would you recommend?
I like to keep it pretty simple, just with like creatine, multivitamin, fish oil, and like protein powder. Obviously, I don't really think of protein powder as a supplement. I think of it more of as just like part of my diet.
Okay.
Whereas the other stuff is like more supplementary.